All right, guys. We are waiting on Tommy. Tommy's ready to come on screen. I'm waiting on Paulie. Just want to let everybody know we're going to stay on for about an hour. We're going to break down the obviously the big card, the Thurman Pacquiao. We're going to bring Paulie Malignaggi, Tommy Rainone on to take your questions. I want to do an intro real quick while we're waiting on Paulie. Paulie's in Long Beach getting ready to call the ProBox card headline between Acosta and Rios. So he's kind of getting his computer sorted. If you haven't joined our VIP Discord, we're approaching 500. Big milestone coming for the boys. That link is going to stay pinned the entire chat. I'm going to get it off the screen in a second. If you haven't already subscribed, do that now. Like the video. These live streams are usually busy, so we're going to focus on a lot of the JSB Insiders questions. I'm going to take your questions now while we're waiting on Paulie and Tommy. Tommy's behind the scenes. I could see him. We're just waiting on Paulie to get set up. What's up, Jake? How we doing? We got fights going on. Our long parlay is active. We had one fight that went through. We had the Kevin Saggio fight. He fought earlier this morning. So we're all good going in tomorrow. We have a lot of work. Tomorrow's going to be interesting, boys. If you're in the Discord, you'll know it's one of these fight weekends to where the boys, I would say it's 70-30, 70 Seb, 30 Keith. But you know how this stuff gets. People get really emotional. If you're in the Discord, all I ask is, with your wins, with your losses, act like a gentleman. We have women in our Discord. It's a family show. I have a coach is in here. One of my buddies who's a coach, his son is also in here, right? So carry yourself accordingly in the Discord. Do it for me. Do it for the boys. Do it for the squad. JSB Insiders, we up. How you feel about Carolyn versus... Look, man, I'm high on Carolyn Dubois. And I was just talking to Tommy about this, and he agreed with me. I didn't like... Did you watch the press conference? I didn't like... I'm going to bring Tommy on real quick. Tommy boy, you're live.
All right, what's up, buddy? Yeah, I just messaged Paul. He's like, all right, I'm gonna try and do it now. I said, you don't have to try and do it. I said,
all right, he'll just pop in whenever he's ready, and we'll just bring him on live.
Yeah.
So we're live. Tommy Rainone. If you guys aren't following, it's a big fight forecast, right?
Big fights forecast, yeah. Although you know what, I should just call it big fight forecast because everybody says fight, including Paulie. So
yeah,
but it is
big fight forecast. Yeah, if you're not following that channel, go do it now. I'll pin it in the comments section. The boys are already active. We got about 30 people in here already. They're at, before Paulie gets here, somebody asked me about the Dubois and Terry Harper scenario, and I told them how you and I behind the scenes were talking about that interview, and kind of was, less than impressed with Caroline.
Yeah, it seemed just out of character for her. I don't like bullying. I don't think she needs to do it. I don't think she needs to intimidate this girl. And could it work? Yeah, but you know what? It's not a good look. I like people like Fundora. I like how she handles herself. As you know, John, he goes, I can't stand Clarissa Shields. I can't stand her.
Paulie. But so we're live, Paulie.
All right, what's happening?
Trying to figure out this, get that volume turned on. Volume.
Let's see.
He came in at a perfect time. Listening to Tommy rant about
I was just
Clarissa
bashing
Shields.
how much I hate Clarissa Shields, Paulie.
You hear me?
Yeah.
You can hear him? I can't hear him.
I hear him fine.
Oh, you hear him?
Yeah.
Yeah. My mic is on.
That's wild that I can't hear him. Oh, give me 1 second.
Yeah, Johnny, I hear him fine.
Hey, chat, do you guys hear Paulie?
You see me?
Yep, you're good.
Maybe you're too far away,
Okay.
Johnny. Maybe Johnny's too far. You hear me?
All right, go, Tommy. Continue.
What was I saying?
You hear me?
You were ranting about Clarissa, and then we'll talk about this card.
I was just saying, as far as the way Dubois carried herself yesterday, I mean, that's Clarissa Shields like. I hate that shit. I like how Fundora carries herself. She's positive. She can fight her ass off, first of all, but she's super positive and happy, and I prefer people like that.
All right, let me try to see what's going on here. All right, so Paulie, what's up, man? You guys are in Long Beach getting ready for the Acosta and Rios card, right?
Yeah, we got it tomorrow. I just finished up fighter meetings, so I'm.
Paulie, there are fights at that same venue tonight, right?
I don't even know, bro. Honestly, I think it's a venue that they use often. I
feel
hear
like
a lot of things about it.
that shows on Box Rec, ProBox tomorrow, and then I feel like there was a show there tonight. I'm gonna
Really?
check.
Oh, there is a show
Tommy,
there
I'm gonna
tonight, I
have to.
guess. No.
Tommy, do you mind leading a little bit because I'm only getting volume on your end. I'm gonna make your and Paulie's screen bigger, and
Okay.
I'm gonna try to figure out behind the scenes what's cracking here.
You want me to sign off and come back in?
No, I'm not gonna sound. You just lead it a bit because I can't. I can
Okay.
hear you. I can't hear Paulie.
Okay.
I'm gonna bring up the odds for the fight card,
Go ahead.
and then I'll bring up
I hear you both. I hear you. It's good.
the just the odds. Just maybe start with a fight you want to talk about. There's 50 guys. What's up? As you tap in, like this video, we got Tommy Rainone and Paulie Malignaggi. I apologize on my end. I could hear Tommy, and you guys could hear Paulie. I just can't hear Paulie. So
You're
I'm
the only
going
one,
to,
Johnny, that can't hear
yeah,
Paulie.
that's insane. So you lead the charge for me if you don't mind. And
All right, so
Paulie, man,
Johnny, what do you want to kick it off with? You want to go dive right into the Fundora Thurman, or you want to talk about some other stuff first?
I mean, we got Yo-Yo on the card. His coach is in our chat. Coach Bermudez. We got Yanis Tellez. Which version are we going to get from him? Might as well start with let's go Thurman and Seb.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun fight. I think that momentum. Obviously, you got momentum going in one direction for Thurman, and going downhill. All that inactivity and all those injuries, and at age 38 now, and then Fundora is in the opposite direction. I mean, he's got all the momentum in the world going in his favor. So momentum matters. Momentum matters a lot. Stylistically, it's a problem for Thurman. So I've been high on Fundora winning this fight from second one. I think that Thurman's only path to victory would be if he lands a Mendoza-like overhand and he scored a knockout. From a betting perspective, I also think the Fundora is very live for a late KO here, just breaking Keith down, and maybe they wave the white towel. So from the betting perspective, I've been betting on Fundora on the money line, and then I've also been putting just the fight to not go the distance, because Thurman is such a favorite. I mean, an underdog at plus 650 for the KO that there's no point in just betting Fundora for the KO. You might as well just cover your ass and bet the whole fight for the KO, because I think the odds changed from basically a minus 130 for Fundora to a minus 160 for the fight to not go the distance. So that's what I've been doing. But the fight should be fun for as long as it goes. But I think it will go some rounds.
I don't know, man. I this morning on the ProBox Daily Show, me and Chris were talking, and there was somebody in the comments section. I guess I don't know. They must have been Team Thurman or something, saying that we're gonna eat our words, and Thurman's been sparring 15 rounds in the gym and looking great, and so on and so forth. But I don't know, if you're doing 15 rounds often at 36, 37 years old, then you got some help, dude. There's no way you're doing 15 rounds often at 36, 37 years old in the gym.
Yeah, no, that's insane. That's insane. And then you know what? You're just setting yourself up for injury. I'm surprised you even got to the fight and didn't get injured in training camp, right?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Then you're getting help. Like you're not doing 15 rounds consistently at 36, 37 years old, or either that, or you're taking something that's giving you help. You know,
or else he's doing quantity over quality. Because I remember when I was like 37 years old, I would spar 15 rounds on a Saturday at the gym, but it would be one guy after another and lower level guys. Like you can't go far. So I just bank around.
Yeah, I guess that's one way to look at it too. I hadn't thought about the lower level quality, because I don't think about somebody doing low. I don't even think about somebody doing lower level if they're training for a fight like this. That would be, I don't know. That might be counterproductive, because then you're going to get an intense Fundora that is, kind of going to shock you if you haven't had that kind of sparring in the gym either. I don't know. We'll see. But obviously, it's hard for me to see a Thurman win here.
Yeah, I mean, short of not on points, that's for sure. Not on points, that'd be nearly impossible. So, if there is any path to victory, Thurman would have to score a knockout.
Yeah, and even then, I mean, as Thurman has scored knockouts. I mean, when's the last time Thurman had a knockout?
Well, he had a knockout in his last fight over the Australian.
Oh, maybe Jarvis. Yeah, okay, Jarvis. I mean, at a high level, yeah, that's true. Jarvis
on a high level, Paulie, he hasn't had a knockout since Luis Collazo in like 2000. What? 2000 was that? 2013.
Yeah, that was a while ago. Yeah, that's a long ago.
That wasn't even a knockout. That was a TKO where he broke Collazo down, and he got hurt bad body with a liver shot.
Yeah, that's true. It's a good point.
But it's unfortunate. We discussed this a little bit, but I mean, with Keith Thurman, the PBC fighter, especially all the crop of welterweights, he beat Sean Porter. He beat
Danny Garcia.
So he beats these guys, and he's at the top of the mountain. And his reward was 4 fights over the next 9 years. I mean, he immediately just became an inactive fighter. And yeah, some of it is of his own device because there have been some injuries, but also there's just been just insane layoffs and opportunities.
Could he have fought Spence? Did he avoid Spence? Was there an opportunity for him to fight Spence? I can't see how there wouldn't have been with both of them at PBC, you know?
One would think there probably was an opportunity, but I don't remember there being a huge demand for that fight, oddly enough.
Yeah, I mean, they should have been. I mean, they're both at PBC, and they were both. There was a moment in time where it probably could have happened, and probably would have been hot, you know, before Thurman went into hibernation anyway, and Spence came into the picture, you know.
Yeah, but you know what, bro? It's no different with Danny Garcia. I mean, look at all the inactivity of Danny Garcia. It's not a coincidence these PBC fighters are not active. Danny Garcia's career pretty much got ruined by inactivity as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. All right.
You're still on the outside.
Is Johnny still here? Does Johnny still not hear us?
I think he hears me, but not you.
I can't hear any. I can hear you. I can't hear Paulie. It's terrible. I can't communicate. I wish I knew sign language. But I wanted to ask Paulie and you, Tommy. You're talking about the inactivity on Keith's side. You know, if you look at the last 7 years, you know, 2019 was Manny, 2022 was Barrios. Brock Jarvis started his career at 126. Man, this is a guy that Jeff Fennick sold to us in the Australian public as the next coming, right? And we saw Liam Paro starched him at 140, and then he all of a sudden is fighting 155, fights Keith. In the first 90 seconds, I shared this in the Discord. In the first 90 seconds of Thurman versus Brock, Thurman doesn't jab. We know his style. He's athletic, jumps in and out, doesn't use his jab. At his best, he's always relied on his athleticism, that quick first step. And he lunges in with a hook, and Jarvis counters him. One of the only times Brock lands, and Keith kind of legs kind of stiffen slightly, and Keith engages in a clinch situation. Now,
and he got digged to the body right there.
Yeah, he got digged to the body. This is Brock Jarvis, guys. This is Brock Jarvis. No shade to Brock, but I mean, he's not Seb Fundora. Now, you talk about the inactivity. You think that that's all promoter? You think Keith, or does Keith, you know, he's had more surgeries in 7 years than he's had fights. 2 fights in 7 years. He's had an elbow, a bicep, a hand. You know what I mean? So does he really want to be fighting? Does he want to be fighting? He could sell a fight.
I think he thinks he wants to fight right now. And then all of a sudden in round 5 and round 6, you start asking these questions in between rounds at 38 years old. Like, what am I doing out here? I'm a father now. I'm a husband. I got money in the bank. I don't need to do this shit anymore. You know, you lose that vigor as you get older, and you start asking yourself these questions that you would never ask yourself when you were younger. So yeah, the inactivity, I think he's going into this fight the same old confident Keith Thurman, but I don't know if he's going to feel the same way come round 3 or 4.
Yeah, I think Barrios also started his career at featherweight, right? Barrios also started a light. So, yeah. Funny enough, so did Pacquiao, right? So all these fighters that he's fought recently have all started out at very low weight classes. Low weight classes. Fundora, on the other hand, has always been a big guy for the weight.
Yeah, man. I mean, he's just stylistically, he's a nightmare for anybody. He's like a freaking praying mantis / windmill. He's all over you. He doesn't.
Guys, what do you make of, like, Paulie? I want to ask you this. I brought it up to Tommy. This is one of those fight weekends where, you know, in our private groups, our boxing forums, in my Discord, it's like heated because, you know, you have one half choosing one side, the other half choosing the other. When you look at Fundora's resume, people don't want to look at how he's evolving. People don't want to talk about the adjustments he made from Zoo 1 and Zoo 2. Zoo 1, he fights in the inside. Zoo 2, he fought at range, look much better. They only want to talk about him getting knocked out against Mendoza.
Everybody,
but he was up on the. Dude, he was winning that fight. It's not like it was a drawn out, you know, back and forth tit for tat war. Seb was up big on those cards and he gets stopped. Now, how much credence do you put in that going into this fight?
I don't see it. Yeah, I don't see how Thurman wins the fight, honestly. At this age, the inactivity. I mean, I don't know if people who are just picking Thurman are just, you know, more so wishful thinking. They're just Thurman fans. I don't I don't see how you can be a boxing fan and know the tidbits and see Thurman with any shot, with the exception of maybe a Hail Mary type of punch, and even then he hasn't had a knockout at this level in such a long time. You would figure Fundora, even if he goes down, would get up and get up in a hurtful manner. I don't know. I don't see it. I don't see Thurman winning shot.
Yeah, and I think the odds on the on decision for Thurman are just as long. So he's like a plus 650 for the knockout. I think he's about a plus 620 for the decision. So
yeah, the odds are wild.
The bookmakers see it the same way, that this is just an absolute long shot, and yet a lot of people think Thurman is live. And like you just said, Johnny, I keep reading online on Facebook and on Instagram, people just keep referring to that Mendoza fight, and they don't realize that, hey, listen, that was like 3 years ago. This guy's improved by leaps and bounds, and like you said, he won every second of that fight before he got caught. He was up 6 rounds to nothing before he got caught. It wasn't a competitive fight. He was dominating in one-sided fashion, and he got clipped. And you know what? He's done nothing but improve since then. And what you brought up is the difference between Tszyu 1 and 2. Yeah, I mean, it was a totally different fight. And you got to feel bad in a way for Tim Tszyu, who had all the career momentum in the world, and that's why momentum matters. He had all this career momentum going into that Fundora fight, and then as soon as that headbutt happened, Tim Tszyu's career has been downhill since, right? Now, yes, he did come back and he won his last fight, and hopefully he gets himself back on track now. But Tim Tszyu had a lot of career momentum. Right now, Fundora has that career momentum.
Guys, do you agree with this? I'm gonna just pull Mac Bobby up. I just want he says Fundora's not mean enough. I totally disagree. What's your take on this?
No, I think he's mean enough. I think his sister's mean enough too. I think they both enjoy what they're doing out there. I mean, when you saw her fighting last week, she had that little grin on her face where she was smiling while she was smashing this girl in her mouth. I think they're both in phenomenal shape where they're almost admiring their work while they're doing it. So, yeah, I don't think Fundora is out there with malicious and vicious intentions, but I still think that, like, he's looking to get rid of you. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
I mean, I think people mistake smiling and having a good time with a lack of malice, a lack of a mean streak. I don't think the two necessarily go hand in hand. Did Winky Wright ever look mean to anybody? But he's beating the crap out of everybody, So, so I don't know. I don't think necessarily that, being in a good mood and being smiling and Clark, Sebastian has a little bit of a Clark Kent feel to him with those glasses, but I don't know, bro. Clark Kent also turns into Superman, so Sebastian is mean when he needs to be, and he's got his game face on when it needs to be.
And you could also see even in the fighter interviews and the meetings, fighter meetings lately, you just see a more confident Fundora. I think he's coming out of his shell a lot more so than he was 2-3 years ago. More personality, more confidence. And I think he's just in a really good place as a fighter right now.
Yeah. I've seen the improvements. Even in the Booker fight, he looked, you could see he was implementing some things that we wound up using in the Tszyu fight. And you would expect him to maybe have continued on those improvements in this fight as well.
I mean, listen, take this for what it's worth. But if you compare Tszyu 1 and 2, the difference between Tszyu 1 and 2 is, I mean, he literally beat this man into submission. Yeah. Where in the first fight, this guy had a hatchet wound in his head, and there was no quitting him whatsoever. If Tim Tszyu wanted out of that fight, he could have got out of that fight and probably won a score on scorecards after 6 or 7 or 8 rounds. But Tim Tszyu's an absolute warrior. He beat the warrior out of him the second fight.
Did you guys hear that interview Tszyu gave this past week? He was asked about, the obvious difficulties of fighting Fundora, and Tszyu's response said it wasn't what people think. People always talk about the height, the reach, what you see in front of you. He said it was how the punches felt. He said that Seb punches a lot harder than people think. And he was like, the power really was affecting him in that second fight.
Mm-hmm. It's also the accuracy, Johnny. He's a very accurate puncher. So, I mean, he's not as busy as he is and as active as he is. He doesn't waste a lot of shots. He's constantly touching you. So whether you're a huge puncher or not, nobody wants to constantly getting touched in the face over and over and over again to the head and body. So, I mean, he's just a pestering style. And there's no rest with him. There's no, it's very hard to set any kind of pace with him where you could fight where you're calm and composed and relaxed, because this guy's constantly on you. So the anxiety's got to be there at all times.
Yeah, and somebody sent me a post that Booker had posted, and he's talking about the fight. And Booker obviously fought Fundora, and he was saying, it's the range. He can hit you at points where you can't hit him. He's at range and he can throw wide hooking punches while you're at range to only throw straight punches. he has the option of throwing straight punches or hooking punches because he has more range than you. And he said the selection of shots that Fundora can throw with power was what really offset him. It was he can throw a lot of punches at a lot of at various ranges, and he gets a lot of leverage on them.
Yeah, and also, like Johnny said, he's boxing more now. He's starting the boxing IQ is starting to polish up a little bit. Where before Fundora was just a machine windmill throwing punches nonstop. It was just a volume, and a stylistic problem. But now I think the boxing IQ is starting to catch up to the talent.
Guys, there's a fight. I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm hearing Paulie talking on a 3-second delay. So I appreciate. How about we do this moving forward, Tommy? Because you're doing it instinctively. Every time Paulie finishes, could you pick up after him?
Sure.
So I don't cut him off.
Sure.
I did want to be a little bit, having both of you guys on the platform. The boys have been asking me all week, actually, about this fight from a betting perspective. The Mendoza fight, we know how tough Brian is. We know he's never been stopped versus Tellez. And Tellez in our group a couple fights ago against Abbas Barral, I mean, he was a massive favorite. And we watched that gas tank dissipate, and then he fell apart, and he got beaten for the first time against Barral. He then had a comeback fight, fought Kendall Castaneda. The question on this fight for both of you boys, if you don't mind, who wins this fight, and how do you see it ending?
I think Tellez wins the fight. I think hopefully he takes the experience of fighting his first 12-rounder and taking that loss. Hopefully he's grown from that experience. But at least he's been there 12 rounds before. Mendoza, as you know, has never been stopped and has just been in with the cream of the crop of the division with a lot of good fighters. He's got the signature win, obviously, over Fundora. I don't even know if he has he been dropped, Johnny. Maybe he was dropped once, but he's never been. He has been dropped, but he hasn't been stopped. Listen, I see distance all day, and I think Mendoza would have to put on a hell of a performance to pull out a victory here because he's 32, but he's not a young 32. He's got mileage on him.
Mendoza is a guy who takes a good beating. He's tough. He's gonna force you to go rounds and maybe make you uncomfortable. But it seems like he does it in a way where he's willing to be uncomfortable and he takes a beating.
I can use a good ass kicking. I'll be very honest with you.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And that's the thing, right? So the Barral fight for Tellez made him go a very uncomfortable 12 rounds. He's got that experience behind him. So I don't know if Mendoza can make him more uncomfortable in that, especially that you would think that it's a little bit of a shop war in Mendoza. He took an ass kicking. Speaking of ass kickings, he took an ass kicking against Sergey Boachuk, And let's be real, he was getting beat up by Fundora too before he stopped him. So, I mean, he's durable. He takes a good beating, but I don't know. I feel like Tellez's experience of 12 rounds, unless he's psychologically ruined from the Barral loss going those 12 rounds, which could happen, but I think Tellez beats him up.
Yeah, and is there an outside possibility for late stoppage? Sure, Mendoza's he's a good
shop worn.
Yeah, but he's a little bit shop worn, but Tellez, at the same time, you know what? He's got the confidence now, even in a defeat, that he knows he can go 12 rounds. Because remember, I mean, he was crawling to the finish line, and he got dropped in the 12th round. I mean, he barely got there. And I know that my heart was in my throat because I lost money on the money line. I had him on the money line, but I backed it up, luckily, with the fight going the distance. And I didn't think that was going to happen. He barely got there, right? So now he knows he's been the 12-round distance, and he's capable of that. So you got to wonder also, you don't know a fighter's makeup. Is he thinking to himself, you know what? I know that I'm in there with a guy that's never been stopped before. On one end of the spectrum, you might want to be the first guy to stop him, sure. On the other end of the spectrum, knowing that you gassed out and you're only the one time you did have to go 12 rounds, and there's a possibility that you're going to have to go 12 rounds again. Maybe you pace yourself and you're content with just boxing and banking rounds and winning a 12-round decision, knowing that you're going to do something you haven't done before. Let me show to myself, to the fans.
It's hard to see Mendoza winning the fight.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's just which way does Tellez win? I think I still lean towards a decision, but I mean, is there an outside chance for a late stoppage? Absolutely. But
so you think Tellez has it in him to be the first guy to stop Mendoza? Because there's an interesting narrative on this fight card. There's a few of these. We have Yo-Yo Hernandez fighting Gausha, which we'll talk about in a second. We know Gausha's never been stopped. We know Mendoza's never been stopped. Thurman. So from an odds play, the $1.31 boys, Tellez on the money line from an odds play, not a bad parlay piece, but on points, 63% return, $1.63. Would you play that, guys? Tommy and Paulie, would you play the points?
You know what I mean? Maybe. Yeah. Well, as far as Thurman goes, that's the one of the three fights that I do see ending not going the distance. I think that Thurman most likely gets stopped, and the only path to victory for Thurman is to stop it. So I don't see that fight going the distance. The other two with Mendoza, I think Mendoza probably goes the distance, and Gausha almost definitely goes the distance. Resume alone, I mean, Johnny, look at the guys this guy's fought over the years. This guy has been the distance with everybody.
But the
He
thing is,
dropped
are
Tim
they
Zoom
shop
when they
worn?
fought.
Yeah.
Are they shop worn though? That's the thing. Are they shop worn enough to be stopped?
Well, he
that's
looked great in his last fight with Garcia, where he got robbed, in my opinion.
He got robbed.
He got robbed, absolutely robbed. And he was landing, he looked, you could just see the level of experience with Garcia, who's a young, vigorous kid, bringing the energy and walking into those counter nonstop over and over against a very calm, composed veteran that knew exactly what he was doing, wasn't breathing heavy, wasn't caught up in the moment. And that experience matters a lot. And that experience could factor into this fight to a degree. Do I see him beating Hernandez? No. This guy's a 6'2", well-proportioned, big middleweight. But I could see it taking him the distance. I'd be more confident in him going the distance than I would be in Mendoza going the distance.
So you think that Yo-Yo has? Guys, we talked about it last time. Both of you were on together. How we're seeing in this modern era of boxing these sort of amateur, storied Olympians with under a certain amount of pro fights. It's a talking point that's part of our game now.
Yeah.
Getting sort of fast tracked to either world titles or the world level. And so I'm always hesitant when we see in the last 2 years what happened with Badr Gaziev in Turkey against Jazza Dickens, what Frankie Rod did to Galal Yafai in England. Yo-Yo, under 15 fights, Gausha, a real pro, dude. You know what I mean? And we're seeing that. I'm always kind of hesitant. I don't know if I'm 100% sold on Yo-Yo Hernandez.
Well, I'll tell you what, Johnny, although I put Hernandez in for a decision, I've also been betting just for the fight to go the distance, just to cover my ass. Should he get upset because of that trend? Should that trend from 25 continue to 26? And we've already had a couple of upsets of that same fashion with inexperienced guys getting beat by veterans in 2026. So I think over here in the States, I'm getting him at I'm getting the fight going the distance at -105. So it's basically even odds. So I've been playing that to just go the distance, and I've been parlaying that into plus odds.
I guess you consider how live Gausha is by where you rate Elijah Garcia. If you rate Elijah Garcia, then you think that you rate Gausha, right, at this point. But if maybe Elijah Garcia is a little bit overrated on that perspective.
Good point. That's a very good point. I don't think Elijah Garcia is very good at all, quite honestly. I don't think he's certainly never going to be a world champion. I think he should have 2 losses on his record, not 1. He definitely lost the fight to Gausha. So that is a good point. But also my point is that he did exactly what he's supposed to do with a inexperienced kid that they were moving too fast. And he should have got that win. He should have absolutely got that win. That wasn't even a split decision or majority type decision type fight. That was a clear-cut victory for me. That was a 6-4, maybe even 7-3 fight. I thought he ran away with it the second half of the fight. So I don't think Garcia's anything special, but Gausha proved that he's still capable of beating these guys and doing exactly what he's supposed to do. It's just to upset the apple cart. Unfortunately, it doesn't show up on his resume that way, but he should have a win on his resume in that fight.
This is another one of these interesting narratives in this fight card, is the fact that you don't rate Elijah. I do. I mean, this kid was 19 years old when he knocked out Armando Resendez. Resendez is now a world champion at 168. Not many 19, 20, 21, 22-year-olds are fighting at the world level at 160 and 168. Garcia, man, I like his backhand. Obviously he was late to the fights. There are a lot of questions considering his youth, but the Kevin Newman matchup all week? I'm asking the boys in the Discord, do you have any tape on Kevin Newman's 3 losses? Why at 32 years old how come it's taken him so long? I know he trains in Vegas. I know he's with Roy Jones Jr. The odds have him about 2-1. Does anyone here think Kevin Newman beats Elijah?
I did originally. Go ahead, boy.
Tommy, did you guys hear though? Elijah showed up overweight this morning.
Yeah.
He didn't make weight. They moved the fight to like 171 or 172.
Yeah, Johnny mentioned that to me earlier, that he claimed
car trouble.
Car trouble and missed weight. And he and the Resendez one was at 160. Now he's showing up overweight to 168. Does that concern anybody?
Well, you know what? I'm going by his last two performances, and those are step-up fights where he fought Davis and he lost in decision against Kyron Davis, and then Garcia, who I felt beat him as well. So, in my opinion, he should have back-to-back losses heading into this fight. So that's
So
what
Newman's live.
And Newman is live. Newman's athletic. He's got the advantage of hand speed. If you ask me who's the more talented fighter, I think the Newman is more talented fighter. The intangibles are brought to the table by Garcia, and I think the intangibles are lacking on the Newman side. I just from a body language perspective and just knowing what I'm looking at, I just don't trust this guy's balls, his heart. He's his willingness to fight in the trenches, and if a fight is close or a round is up for grabs, that he's going to go grab it and steal it.
So like the composure, his calmness in the storm. There's something about it that when I was watching Newman's tape, I couldn't put a word on it.
Yeah, because Johnny, when I first looked at footage of him at first, after I watched a round or two of him, I'm just like, Newman's going to tattoo this guy. He's too fast for him. This guy's going to walk into counter shots all night. And he's got a little bit of a boxing IQ and two in there. And then something about the body language, just like you said, it's the body language, it's the eyes, it's just the unnecessary holding when there's no reason to. He lacks confidence. I can see it. You could see it in his whole body language and demeanor. He lacks confidence. And then you got to point to those 3 losses earlier on in his career. They were all decision losses. A couple of those were upset losses that shouldn't have happened. And you wonder, I wasn't able to find those fights online. And I said to myself, well, those fights that he was winning, and then he kind of unraveled because the guy didn't go away and the guy kept putting the kind of pressure on him that Garcia is going to be putting on him tomorrow night. Because Garcia is not going away. You know that. Garcia is going to keep coming.
Paulie, I got a question for you about what Tommy and I are talking about. And Tommy, you can answer this too. You guys are, pro careers. Is that something you guys could see? Like in a fight that like maybe on paper it looks like a 50-50 fight. You know your opponent, you know his skill, you know his strengths, but you question how he will react when it gets dirty? Or is that something you learn within the fight?
I used to, that was the main thing I used to look for. It was character traits, how they would react when getting hit, how they would react when, in moments of discomfort. I would look for that more so than tactical stuff, because tactical stuff can be adjusted, but character traits typically are sticking points. What do you think, Tom?
Yeah, no, I agree. Listen, a guy like Mickey Ward wouldn't go as far as if you watch just footage of Mickey Ward for a couple of rounds and you match him up with Zab Judah, you're going to say to yourself, shit, man, Zab Judah's going to absolutely play with this guy. But then you watch a few rounds of a Mickey Ward fight and you say, this guy's not going to go away. All right. Zab Judah's a guy that has a tendency to unravel himself. Right. And yes, they did end up fighting, and Ward ended up hurting him to the body and hurt him to the body bad in that fight. But the average person wouldn't think that a Mickey Ward would be competitive with somebody like a Zab Judah at that stage of their career, where Mickey Ward had the career that he had because of the intangibles. Mickey Ward was a total intangible fighter. So yeah, those things absolutely matter. And I think Newman is lacking in the intangible department. I think those things are something that Garcia brings to the table. So I think Newman is the more talented fighter, but I think this fight's going to come down to intangibles. And as far as the intangibles go, I think that balls, heart, determination, hunger, willingness to win. I think everything kind of favors Garcia there.
Are you guys able to read that on the screen? So we have a super shot. We have a super chat. Shout out to Matt Borgenson. He says Keith's right bicep is still torn. I don't know if that's the case, but we do know he's had that surgically repaired. Look at the weigh-ins. You can see the indentation. I have Fundora by knockout, no other routes. I mean, look at Fundora's bicep didn't look 100% at the weigh-ins. I was looking at it. Oscar Duarte's bicep, Pitbull Cruz. You see this a lot, right? With have you guys ever had a fight with a torn bicep?
No,
thank God. Yeah, it's a tough injury to come back from. Yeah, I haven't, but I've seen they're tough injuries to come back from. Yeah. So Fundora also, you didn't notice it didn't look good, Johnny?
Yeah, so they both had bicep injuries. I know Keith did.
I'm just speculation. When you look at, I'll pull up on Instagram what they were. People were trying to find a lean this time of the week, every week, boys. With the bettors, everyone has a keen eye trying to find a lean. And so when Seb is going like this, you could see his left bicep was fully extended. The right one was smaller. So I don't know if it's always looked like that. He just looks ripped to me.
Yeah, no, he looked like he was in good shape. Thurman looked like he was in good shape too. People read a little bit too much into weigh-in sometimes. This this guy looked away first. This guy, I mean, listen, at the end of the day, everybody
Matt Borges is the
behaves.
guy. Matt Borges is the guy who comes on the ProBox TV chats a lot. He knows his stuff though. He's the guy who comments in a lot.
I think everybody behaves differently at weigh-ins. Me personally, dude, I wanted to get the weigh-in over with as fast as possible, so I could just start drinking fluids and go eat. I didn't want to get involved in anything at a weigh-in, So that had nothing to do with me being focused or unfocused. It just had me just not wanting to participate. Then you got other guys that just make a whole drama show out of a weigh-in and are always causing drama. You got guys like Golovkin that was always super composed no matter what was thrown in his direction, whether it was Alvarez trying to bully him or Curtis Stevens or any of these guys. So I mean, I don't take too much with the weigh-ins unless a guy looks absolutely drained. Then yeah, I'm going to take a look at that.
Game plan wise, Paulie, game plan. You're Keith's coach. You know what you have with him. He'll be 38 in November. You've had a long time to prepare for Sebastian Fundora. What is the game plan that he's going to attempt to execute to get a victory?
Well, Keith's never been a head movement guy, so he's not going to be a guy who's in the pocket moving his head. He's in and out. He uses that springing explosive first step to try to close the gap. He jumps in, he jumps out. I think that's a very energy burning style. It doesn't age well. And then on top of that, you got a guy who's 6'5", 6'6", who you're fighting against. That means you have to be in and out. It's a lot harder to work that in and out style against a guy so big, because you got to be all the way in and all the way out. So I don't know, man. I would have to see things from Keith Thurman that I haven't seen in his style. Aside from that, he's going to be trying overhand shots. Maybe he may try to surprise everyone and use a big left hook instead of a big overhand right, because he keeps talking about a big overhand right. Maybe that's just to take away attention from lunging in left hooks that he might be trying to use. But I think Keith is going to be trying to use an energy burning style, and that's also another reason why he probably doesn't go the distance, and he may get stopped for the first time in his career.
Yeah, and typically a lot of these guys, whether it was a Andre Berto or an Adrian Broner, guys that are explosive.
Broner. You had to bring up Broner with Paulie here.
I'm just giving examples, but yeah. But
those guys also were more composed on their feet, though. Thurman is not very composed on his feet. Thurman jumps around all over the place and then leaps in and leaps out. There's a lot more energy burning with Thurman. Thurman is not very budgeting with his energy. He's not economical with his energy.
When I think of explosive guys around that weight class, I'm going to think of guys over the years. I think of a Zab Judah. I think of an Adrian Broner. Explosiveness, Andre Berto. But what's the one common denominator amongst those three guys? They all had gas tank issues, because being explosive, sometimes it takes away from your gas tank. Thurman was an explosive guy, absolutely, in spots, no question about it, and unorthodox at times. But again, at 38 years old, that's going to deplete him in the gas tank department, because he's putting so much energy into these shots. And with Fundora, I think he's really going to look to, listen, his path to victory is only going to be a knockout. So he's going to be winging these shots with everything he's got. And that's going to deplete him. It's going to deplete him more so when he's getting hit in return nonstop, and this guy's throwing 100 punches around.
Boys, could you
little push-pull stuff that he's been doing, he can counter Thurman jumping in.
Yeah. No.
I want to ask you guys if both you guys could share like the reality of this. Paulie's actually still fighting. Tommy, you fought into your late 30s. The reality of what the gas tank feels like from your mid-20s. And then you're third. Me and you were talking, Tommy, about this. You were like, I'm in a fight. I'm 37, and I'm like, what am I doing here? Like, is it a noticeable change at the highest world level of being a 26-year-old versus a 36-year-old? Even though your whole career you fought 10, 12 rounders.
Oh yeah, even from a making weight perspective, everything gets harder as you get older. Believe me, Thurman's not making weight for this fight. Well, this fight's at 154. He's not making 47 anymore, but he's still not making 54 the way he once made it with ease at 147. So as you get older, your metabolism slows down and things just get harder. The training camps get harder. The sparring sessions get harder. Your stamina tends to just everything depletes just a little bit, and then you start to notice things, and
is it in the back of your head though? Like, is it like, does it show up in the ring?
It can be. The last 3 fights of my career, it was on my mind. I knew that I was having trouble making weight, and I knew that just every training camp was getting more and more difficult, and there weren't as many easy sparring sessions as there used to be. So I knew until, they say the fighter is the first one to know and the last one to admit it. I kind of knew it, 3 fights before I retired, like, hey, you know what? I'm slowing down. It's time to get out and start making my little exit strategy now. And then it started to once the weight problems began to happen too, then it became just, all right, this is very obvious. And at this standpoint, obviously I wasn't making any kind of the money that Keith Thurman is making. So, I also, I think that Thurman is, also reached heights that I never reached either. I think Thurman has a certain self-belief and confidence in himself as a former world champion, and having the resume that he has. He probably thinks that he can pull this out of a rabbit out of his hat one more time. He's probably going in there fully confident that he can win this fight. But in the back of his mind, Keith Thurman is a cerebral guy. He's an intelligent guy. He has to know he's an intelligent guy. He has to know, like, listen, I've had nonstop injuries over the years. There's been a lot of inactivity. There's ring rust. These things have to creep into your mind at some point. And then when you go back to the corner after round 3 or 4, and maybe your eyes puffed up over here, and you're a little cut over here, and you're thinking to yourself, what am I doing? I got a beautiful wife and a kid at home, and I got money in the bank, and this guy doesn't give a shit. He's trying to knock me out, and I'm now in survival mode. So I think it's a huge, huge ask of Keith Thurman. It's going to be a tough fight, man. And Thurman is the definition of reliability and durability. He's been down one time his whole career, right? One single time. We've seen him hurt. We saw him hurt bad against Pacquiao. He got hurt to the body against somebody else.
Collazo.
There you go.
Collazo,
yeah, you go. Twice, badly hurt to the body, right? And he managed to stay composed. He even took his mouthpiece out and just moved around the ring, and just, Thurman is an intelligent guy out there, but and very durable. Takes a great shot. He's been in there with a lot of big punches. But again, 38 is 38.
He fought Ghost Guerrero in 2015. Like, what I can't get past is his 2 best wins are Danny Garcia and Sean Porter. And some people think that those could have either been draws or they could have gone the other way. Also, this isn't supposed to be controversial. In his era, I never looked at him as the guy at 140.
Yeah, I mean, you had Spence, you had certain guys around back then. So, I mean, he was one of the top guys, but
there are people thinking that, all right, here, Paulie, is Keith Thurman a Hall of Famer?
I mean, listen, the standard for boxing Hall of Fame isn't really that high, so I think from the longevity standpoint, and some of the wins that he's got, and the fact that he's hung around, though the longevity can be also argued that he has had longevity because of the long layoffs. That'll also help your longevity, right? But I mean, with the standard of, he's only won a world championship in one weight class. Typically, you'd like to see a couple weight classes. Listen, man, I mean, he's been a very good fighter. The standard of boxing Hall of Famers is not that high as far as the resume is concerned. There's sometimes fan favorites get in there because, they're just popular guys. Ray Mancini's in the Hall of Fame, right? He won a world title in one weight class. I think he had 5 defenses. So that's a good accomplishment, but still it's one weight class he got in. So Mancini gets in. Can Keith get in? I mean, possibly.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'd have to agree with that. I think he'll be on the ballot for sure. I think he's got an outside chance to get again. Maybe a long career, like Paulie said, a big name in the industry for a very long time. So more than likely he gets in.
What's his biggest win?
You'd have to say the Porter or the Garcia fight, right?
Guerrero's a good win too, though. I mean, Guerrero has accomplished a lot. Beating Guerrero is a good win.
Absolutely.
I mean. Yeah, it's again, you can definitely nitpick at it, but when you go look at the standard of boxing Hall of Fame, it's a little bit of a popularity contest more than anything else. It's a little tough. It's
Danny Garcia won world titles in 2 different weight classes, at 140 and 147. So let me ask you, Paulie, who had a better career, just off the top of your head? Who would be more Hall of Fame worthy, Danny Garcia or Thurman?
I'll tell you what, though, Danny had some wins over guys he wasn't favored to beat. Amir Khan, Lucas Matisse. I think those go a long way. So you got to ask yourself, is beating guys that you weren't supposed to beat an elevation standpoint Hall of Fame, or is the fact that maybe you were so good you weren't an underdog at all, like Mayweather, who's almost never an underdog, right? So there's 2 ways to look at that. But Danny did get the wins against underdogs. Danny also, people used to call him a cherry picker, but Danny also came up in an era where even before he won world titles, he fought Kendall Holt, he fought Nate Campbell before he won world titles, So I don't think Danny came up in the easiest manner, and then got the world championships and has a pretty good resume. maybe an underrated resume because people started looking at the Rod Salka fight and fights like that and say he was cherry picking. But
Yeah,
ultimately,
so.
I think to get there, it was very, very difficult. Then, yeah, and during the high stakes run, he had some soft touches where he just made some free money. But the Salka was a little crafty fighter, but he was 130 pounder, 135 pounder,
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. I think Danny has had a good career, 2 weight class champion. Yeah, again, you just got to go back with the standard of boxing Hall of Fame judges as well. You got to be. It's a little bit of a popularity contest.
Yeah.
Is Meldrick Taylor in the Hall of Fame? I don't think he is, right? But
No.
Buddy McGirt, who we beat, is in the Hall of Fame. Who we stopped is in the Hall of Fame, and Arturo Gotti's in the Hall of Fame. Would you say Meldrick is a better fighter than Arturo? Probably, but Arturo's a fan favorite, right?
Yeah.
So again, the Boxing Hall of Fame voting is a little bit wishy-washy.
It took Julian forever to
contest.
get in there, which is absurd. I mean, Julian Jackson has to really wait to get in there, and there are other guys out there. There are guys out there that should be in there. Now, so no, of course, it's a popularity contest with Garcia and Thurman. I look at it actually. I look at Garcia as an overachiever and Thurman maybe as an underachiever, because if you remember going back to those ESPN days when he fought Kendall Holt, Garcia wasn't big on people's radar prospects, and going into that first fight with going into the fight with Amir Khan, he was a big underdog. Nobody's expecting him to win that fight. He was getting hammered for the first 4 rounds, and then he landed that left hook. And he against Matisse, who was the boogeyman at the time, me, myself included, nobody thought Danny Garcia was even going to fight him. People thought he was avoiding him, much less he goes out there, he fights him, and he beats him in one-sided fashion. So, yeah, Garcia, in my opinion, has greatly overachieved in his career.
Boys, let me talk about real quick. I know, it's your Friday night, so I appreciate you spending time with the boys, myself, and on the channel. But there's the main event in the UK, Moses Itauma versus Jermaine Franklin. This is another fight. The odds on paper for the bettors, they're terrible. Moses, he's always, 10-1 favorite. But where people are trying to get sharp is like, there's good value on points, and the knockout doesn't pay as much. Do you think that, Moses is this guy that people think in the UK he is being heralded as the next one to take that heavyweight sort of throne for years to come? What's your opinion on this fight, and do you think he's that guy?
I think time still has to wait and tell. We got to see him go some rounds. He's only had 25 amateur fights, so I'm very curious to see how he's going to look once he has to go some rounds. The general consensus would have been that Jermaine Franklin would have been the one to take him some rounds, but then Jermaine showed up at the weigh-in like a fat tub of shit. So I don't know if Jermaine is actually going to be the guy to take him rounds now. Seeing how he showed up to the fight. But Jermaine was heavy when he fought and beat Ivan Ditchko. So there is hope that maybe he takes Itauma some rounds. Itauma is a young, hungry phenom though. Ditchko was a little bit older. I still am not convinced about Itauma, though. He's very good. He's very exciting. I think he'll be a player. I don't know if he'll be the man, though. Because, again, with 25 amateur fights, we talk about they were trying to put him on the Mike Tyson comparison. But Mike Tyson had a good amateur career. He was in the Olympic trials, So once Tyson did have to go some rounds against guys like Mitch Green and James Tellez, he give you your answers. I'm not sure about Itauma yet in that way. But judging by the way Jermaine Franklin showed up, I don't think we're going to find out anything tomorrow night.
I mean, I would have liked to see him coming at the same 134 that he came in for Joshua. I was shocked. I mean, not only is it 258, but he's a soft as fuck 258. I mean, his body looks like shit. So, yeah, that was a little bit alarming. But this is the guy that was been brought in because this guy's never been stopped. He's never been dropped. He can fight. He has pulled off upsets. He's gone the distance with Joshua. So it's a good measuring stick. If he gets blitzed in 3 rounds, you got to start to say to yourself, like,
is it a good measuring stick? It's not a good measuring. I mean, this guy didn't miss any meals during camp. I mean, this guy actually ate his meals during camp, Jermaine, judging by the way he showed up to the weigh-in, So, I mean, is it a measuring stick? It was supposed to be a measuring stick. This guy showed up. Is this his career fattest, by the way, that he showed up? Jermaine Franklin ever showing up this heavy?
You know what? I'm going to pull up his box rec while we're talking. I'm curious about
that. Might be a career high fat weight.
Do you want me to pull it up? Who do you want? Jermaine Franklin?
Yeah, his weight.
Yeah, I'll pull it up.
Because I know he was 234 against Joshua. I know he's come in the 240s or 245 or so. But this might be, is this a career high is the question. That's interesting to know. Because if it is, it's quite alarming. Unfortunately, that's the problem with betting on heavyweights, right? We know that Keith Thurman's got to be 154 pounds or a little less. The same with Fundora. There's a weight class, right? So we know going into that fight, these guys got to get themselves in enough shape to make that weight and make that contract weight and come to fight. We don't know with heavyweights. So I'm putting my bets in thinking this fight's going to go more than 6.5 rounds, and this fat fuck shows up 260 pounds. You never know what's going to happen with a heavyweight. Showed up looking like Damon Wayans in
Great White Hope.
Great White Hope. Great White Hope.
Okay, so against Anthony Joshua, Franklin weighed in at
234, right?
Yeah. So he's 21 pounds heavier.
Now, what's his
What
weight?
did he wait for Ditchko? Chris told me
Against
today.
who?
Algieri told me Ditchko.
Since then?
No,
So
Ivan
Ditchko.
Ditchko. Because Chris told me he weighed 256 for the Ditchko fight.
Height, reach, stance. It's not showing. Let me
Not
Google it.
really?
I'll just go. It's not. I'll Google it.
It might. You know what, Johnny? If you're not signed into BoxRec these days, if you're not actually signed in, you won't see weights.
Oh shit! Do you guys pay for the BoxRec subscription?
No, it's free, but you have to be signed in. So I'm signed in.
Okay, sign in. Let us know. Sorry
Let me pull
about
it up.
that.
So let's keep talking. I'm going to pull it up now. I'm logging in.
Paulie, are you able to? Are we able to talk about the Acosta versus Ronnie Rios fight?
Yeah, that.
Yeah, it's a fight that interests me, considering I'm never too keen on a guy. I think Ronnie retired once or twice, and without doing triangle theories, Acosta was competitive with Cardenas. The only two guys to knock Cardenas down in his career are Inoue and Acosta, and so that's the main event, right?
Yes, it is. Yes, it's an interesting fight because you wonder what Rios has left, but Acosta's coming in off 2 losses in a row. No matter how positive you want to look at the Cardenas fight, he still lost that fight, and then he got blitzed against Segawa one-sidedly. He has changed trainers. He has Bob Santos, who I rate as a trainer, and he seems confident. I just had the fighter meetings with all the fighters. Ronnie as well. Ronnie just talks like a veteran. He's got his family, and he's trying to figure out how to extend his career at this point. He's got a couple of game plans in for a couple of things he has in mind for the fight, but you would think Acosta may be a little bit too young and energetic, and he just seems a little bit rejuvenated working with Santos. Like he has his confidence working with Santos. Sometimes you change teams and you feel a little bit better training in Vegas. So I mean, we'll see. We'll see what they both bring to the table. But conventional wisdom makes you think that the young guy probably has more energy and a little bit more left.
And I got the weights here, Johnny.
Take over, big dog. Sorry for cutting you off, Paulie.
This is in fact a career high. This fat fuck, what he is. He was 239 for his last fight, Paulie.
239 against Ditchko?
Yep. Prior to that,
239 against
Devin Vargas, the stay busy fight. He was 235. The one before that, though, against was an upset over a 17-0. I don't know if it was an upset, but it was over 17-0. Isaac Munoz Gordietes, 257.5.
Oh, he was heavy for that one. All right.
So he was heavy for that one.
You're telling us there's a chance then?
No, I'm sorry. I was looking at the wrong one. 241.
Oh, all right. That was a little bit of a tease. All right.
You know what? Jesus Christ. You know what? No, Chris is wrong, buddy. I'm sorry. He was 256 for that fight, Paul. I was looking at Ivan's weight. Ivan was 239.
Which 256 was he? For Ditchko or for Munoz?
256, 254, 241 his last 3 fights. So he was 256 his last fight against Ditchko. Vargas 250.
So Chris was right.
Yeah. Well, what did Chris? Yeah, Chris was right. So the weight since the Joshua fight has done nothing but go up. He went from 234 to 241 to 254 to 257, now to 260, almost to the fat fuck that we see in those pictures today.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Wow. There was so much potential in this fight. I don't know. This guy was a former national Golden Glove champion. Obviously, a little bit of amateur experience that Itauma does not have. I was looking forward to seeing a little bit, but this guy just turned me off so much on this fight.
Now,
That
could
is
we
what it
think
is,
of any
guys.
specific instances? I'm asking both of you this one, as far as heavyweights, obviously. I mean, certain guys come to mind, like Riddick Bowe showing up, 15 pounds heavy or something like that. And then he comes
That guy is also a former undisputed heavyweight champion. So,
No, of course,
him showing up heavy
But can
is
we
a
think of
different
any
result.
instances where a heavyweight, came in a lot heavier than we expected, and it actually benefited him?
Maybe Wilder against Fury in the third fight. Wilder was like in 230s, I think.
Okay, all right. Yeah, he was a 210 heavyweight a lot of times, yeah. I mean, he still got knocked out, but yeah.
Still got knocked out, but he dropped Fury twice and did better than he did in the second fight.
Yeah.
Didn't Tyson Fury put on a bunch of weight?
Fury's
Johnny, he did, but
yeah,
I'm talking about in a manner in which he. Yeah, you're right. No, that's what I just said.
And this guy, remember Frankie Swindell? This guy showed up looking like Frankie Swindell.
Frankie Swindell.
Remember that?
Frankie Swindell. I don't know.
This guy showed up looking like Frankie Swindell. Swindell was capable though. He could go some rounds.
The Frankie Swindell ref.
Frankie Swindell, dude. You're going way back. Crazy.
Yeah. But you know what? Swindell could go rounds though. If Jermaine Franklin gives us a little Frankie Swindell, at least it'll give us a little.
Tommy, did you guys cover any of the British fights?
What's that?
Did you cover any of those domestic? The domestic British fights like Nathan Heaney versus Jerome Warburton?
No.
Or
what was the co-main event on that show?
Oh, you got Will Hutchinson versus Ezra Taylor.
Yeah, that one we covered. Yeah.
What's your lean there?
Listen, like I said, I punted on that one. I'm leaning towards Taylor. I know that me and you were not in agreement on that one, but just from the a skill perspective, I think Taylor's the far more talented fighter. But the intangible is going to come up where Hutchinson's been in there multiple times now, 4 times at least, with world-class guys. He's had mixed success, a couple of wins, a couple of losses. We don't know about this guy who's 13-0 with 9 knockouts, who hasn't fought anybody yet. Now, that's where
31 years old too.
Yeah, 31
that bothers me that he's 31. He has 13 pro fights.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And I think we've seen Hutch at the world level before.
Yeah, so I didn't go heavy on that fight. I used it in a couple of little parlays at plus 150 to build up the odds on it. I didn't go heavy on that fight, but the footage I saw of him. Listen, I like what I see. He's an athletic guy. He's got good upper body movement. He's composed, good jab, good hand speed. I think he's got a lot of advantages over Hutchinson, but the intangibles are on Hutchinson's side. The experience, the toughness, the grit, the willingness to win. And he's unorthodox. He's super unorthodox, Hutchinson. Hutchinson will switch lefty-righty. He can fight off the back foot. So I can see this fight being a very close one that Hutchinson might edge. I don't know. It's going to come down to it's probably more than likely going to be a decision-type fight. I think that Hutchinson might have to come from behind the scorecards to tighten this thing up in the middle of the 8 rounds, though.
And then we're approaching an hour, guys. It's your Friday night in New York. Paulie's out in Cali. I'm in Sydney, Australia. It's Saturday afternoon. Paulie, on that ProBox card, is there any fights flying under the radar?
The co-main event I think is good. Montgomery and Giron. Tellez Giron. I think that's a good fight. Mayhem Montgomery. He's a guy that throws a lot of punches. He has had fights where he throws 1,000 punches in a fight. Giron is a pressure guy. He beat up Jordan White, who I think was undefeated but prior to that on ProBox. Giron has been in with Schofield and guys like that. He told us he's had a great camp. He was sparring with Emmanuel Navarrete preparing him for his fight. So I think that fight is a sleeper good fight as well.
Paulie, just knowing that information right now, that might hedge me towards maybe putting a little bit more. Navarrete is great sparring. I already picked him on the show. I already.
Who'd you take?
Tellez. I picked him on the show. More likely by decision. I think it's going to be a dogfight. I think Paulie's going to be calling another great fight on ProBox because both of these guys are super aggressive.
The Joshua Pagan fight versus Montgomery was competitive. They stopped it late
because he couldn't stop bleeding. They couldn't get that cut closed. Okay. But I mean, he was competitive throughout. Yeah.
Montgomery in the fighter meeting between us, and whoever's listening, Montgomery in the fighter meeting said he's going to try to be boxing more in this fight.
Montgomery.
Montgomery, yeah.
Yeah.
but he says people take him like a guy who can bang, and he's certainly willing to bang, but he wants to try to use a little bit of more boxing if he can, and try to avoid the firefight. But if it gets drawn into a firefight, obviously he's more than willing and capable. We've seen that.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm sure he has some athleticism to him because listen, he's coming off back-to-back losses, and he's a tough kid. There's no question about it. And he started off with all those knockouts, right? So he's got the knockout loss now against him. But like Johnny just said, that was stopped in the 9th round in Puerto Rico. It was stopped on a cut. So it's not like this guy got knocked out or something like that, really. He's on his way to probably losing. He's going to lose on the scorecards. He was down 78-74. It's going to be very tough for him to get a decision in Puerto Rico either way. But Montgomery, it's not like he's a guy that was 18-0, or I'm sorry, 20-0 with 18 knockouts, stepped up in competition and couldn't handle the load. That's not what I see in him. I think he's a very good fighter. I think this is gonna be a very good fight. I think he'd be calling. I mean, I wouldn't want to go as far as saying a potential fight of the year, but stylistically, dude, these guys are going to throw down. I don't know who's going to back up. That's going to be the interesting thing because these guys are both super, super aggressive. So I think it's going to be a nip and tuck battle. I feel like it's going to go to the scorecards, and I think it's going to be a very close fight.
Yeah, full transparency. I took Renee on the money line. Shout out Super Chat. Gaz has a question for Paulie. Gaz says, Paulie, how good would a Lester Martinez versus Christian Mbili rematch be?
I think it would be a good fight. I have trouble thinking Canelo will beat Mbili. I heard that's the fight they're making. That's what we've been talking about on ProBox. I think Canelo doesn't like a pace, and Mbili brings a very good pace to the fight. But I also felt like Lester got screwed in the Mbili fight. I felt like if it was a 12-rounder, which it should have been, and it was supposed to be, if that Dana White didn't put Callum Walsh in the co-main event and therefore force the Martinez and Mbili fight to be demoted to a 10-rounder, I think if that fight had been rightfully a 12-rounder in the co-main event spot, which it should have been on that Canelo Crawford card, I felt like Lester was moving into the position to, I don't know, maybe not stop Mbili, but certainly close the fight stronger and pull out the fight and pull out the win. That's why those 11 and 12 are championship rounds for that reason. I thought Lester started a little slower. I do think Lester shows some vulnerabilities against Aleem, but he's still world class. I think it's going to be a great fight. If they rematch, listen, I think there's certain styles, like, for example, Gotti Ward, you put them in together against one another, they'll always be a really good fight. I think Mbili and Lester Martinez, if they match up against one another, is always a great fight.
Yeah, I agree with that. And you know what? I think actually the rematch might even be better. I think I would favor Lester in the rematch. I'll tell you why, Paulie, because now he knows what he's getting himself into. Where Mbili, you know what you got. Nonstop pressure fighter, volume, great gas tank, great chin, so on and so forth, right in front of you, right? Martinez has more options, but I think Martinez, it took him a while to settle into that fight, but he looked a little bit winded early on. I think I think going into a rematch, you would just realize, you know what, I got to be in better shape, a little bit better shape mentally and physically, because I'm going to have to basically fight the same kind of fight against this guy. But he has the option to box and use his jab a little bit more. I think Lester wins the rematch if it was to happen.
Also, you start a little faster, right? Lester started a little bit slowly last time. I think you come out the gate a little better, a little sharper, and really, I think you're.
I kind of worded it wrong there. I don't know if what I was trying to say is, I mean, was Lester Martinez maybe a little overwhelmed in the beginning? Like, wow, this guy is not going to slow down. This is what I got for 10 rounds. And it took him listen, I got to fight this guy toe to toe on the inside. And this is what it is tonight. It took him a little, I don't know if it was a matter of him having to warm up as much as it was like, man, is this guy going to slow down at all? And he didn't.
Yeah.
He made an adjustment though. Lester did.
Yeah,
like the fifth round, he changed where the fight was taking place.
He did. And, keep in mind, Lester was sparring with Crawford. That's not really going to prepare you for Mbili. It's more tactical than anything else. It may be heavy sparring, but it's still tactical. It's still more tactical than Mbili's going to be, So Lester comes from off a camp that's where he's sparring Crawford, and then he comes in and fights this little fire hydrant who's constantly in his face throwing punches. Maybe the next time around, Lester focuses more on his opponent in camp and brings in sparring partners that are adequate for and the Mbili kind of pressure. I can't see Mbili beating Lester. I can't see them. I can't see that result anymore. I feel like Lester overcomes this now.
I agree, and I can't see Alvarez winning that fight. I'm surprised Alvarez is even going to take the fight. Stylistically, I think it's a terrible matchup for Alvarez. So we'll see if it gets announced or not. I'm still skeptical on that one.
All right, boys, we're over an hour. We still have 110 people in here. Guys, on your way out, like this video. Paulie Malignaggi, man, always a pleasure. I appreciate your insights, appreciate what you've done and what you do for our sport. Tommy Rainone, you're my guy, man. Tommy, shout out the show if they're not following you guys yet.
Yeah, check us out on Tommy and Paulie's Big Fight Forecast on YouTube. Every Thursday, we drop a new episode with the upcoming fights for that weekend. And every week, hopefully we're pretty accurate. So, hopefully this is another good weekend.
Oh yeah. And I'll be in Australia Sunday night. Or actually, I arrive Tuesday, but I fly Sunday night for the Zoo fight week.
Yeah, I got zooming a couple of parlays here. I haven't looked at actual footage of the guy he's fighting yet, but I've been using Zoo at -900.
Nice.
All right, guys, man. Always a pleasure. I'll be in touch. Good luck to everybody this weekend, and we'll see you in the next one.
All right, Johnny.
Later, Johnny. Later,
Thank
Tommy.
you, gentlemen. Thank you, boys. All right, guys, I'm going to stay on for a couple minutes. Hopefully you enjoyed that. We're over an hour in. There's still 110 people in here. It is my Saturday at 12:40 p.m. All I have to do is go to lunch with my girl. I'll take some questions if you want. If the boys start to shuffle out of here, I'll just shut it down. Just kind of let me know how you're doing, what you liked. If you got any good sort of advice out of that one. Mosby's still here. Lester's 5'8", man. He's only 5'8". And after watching Lester in his last fight against Aleem, I brought this up on the live stream earlier in the week. I think Lester should be making 160. You're 5'8". It's not like he's the sort of 5'8" that has an 8-pack. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's a good question. He's not that big, doesn't have a big reach, and maybe he's not as big of a puncher as they sold him to us too. But I'm cheering for him. He stayed on the winning ways, and he's a fun contender to keep an eye on. I think he has one of those interim titles. What do I think about the bicep tear? Let me pull this up. We brought this up earlier in the stream. I'm going to bring up the Instagram post with what you're referring to. So I'm going to bring up the weigh-ins. And I saw it too, Drift. I noticed it as well. It's when Fundora faces the camera and he flexes. Notice I think it's his left bicep. Right here. It's that right bicep. So it just looks underdeveloped to me. It doesn't necessarily... It looks like he probably tore it a while ago. It just looks really small. On that note, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. You guys are the best. JSB Insiders, we up.